Hey everybody, this is Ryan McClanahan with historythroughcards.com. Hope you're all doing very well today. So in this video, I want to tell you about the life and times of Mary Astor. And I actually thought I had a card of hers in the 1928 Wills Cinema Stars set, but when I went to look, it looks like I only have half of the set, which really bums me out. I have to look for the other half. Man, that was probably too cheap. In fact, I think I paid like under $10 for it. It is actually a cheap set from 1928. You could probably get that set for probably about $20 or so. But uh, you're probably not going to make any money off of it if that's what you're looking for. You have to be kind of a fan of film and cinema and the actors and actresses to really kind of appreciate the set. There's a lot of great actors in it too. And it also reminds me a lot of the 1912 T207s. And anyway, she is in that set. So she's doesn't have a whole lot of cards out there either. I thought she did, which is really kind of surprising to me because she was a major actress during her day and she had a 45-year career in Hollywood. One of my favorite roles of hers is Bridget O'Shaughnessy from the movie Maltese Falcon, which is right here. This is the 1941 version. It's a remake of the 1931 movie, the original movie with Ricardo Cortez. And I actually like that movie quite a bit as well. It's a different movie, it's a pre-code movie. And so there's a little bit of how should I say, sex, drugs, and rock and roll for the 1930s. All right, so Ricardo Cortez, he is a really good actor in his own right. I think he also played a little bit of baseball as well, so there's that angle. And I don't think Humphrey Bogart played baseball at all, but he is a fantastic actor, and I've seen him in everything except for maybe a few movies I've missed him in, but I'm getting there. So Mary Astor, I really haven't seen a whole lot of her movies, but I did see her in this, and she's absolutely fantastic. Again, this is a different movie than the 1931, at least I think so, and that's partly because of Humphrey Bogart's acting and Mary Astor as well. And so Mary Astor doesn't have a whole lot of cards out there, and I was actually really kind of surprised about that because she is one of the biggest actresses of her day, and again, she had a 45-year career in Hollywood. So today, I thought what I'd do is there's a bunch of articles that kind of cover her entire career, and I thought what better way to kind of introduce you to Miss Astor than read these articles, and I'll show you a couple of her cards as well. So here we go. This is from the Pittsburgh Sun-Telegraph, August 9th, 1936. Norma Shearer acts for truce in Astor battle. Thalberg joins wife as peacemaker over suit by Dorothy Rowe. Los Angeles. Producer Irving Thalberg and his beautiful screen star wife, Norma Shearer, emerged today as chief conciliators in the raging Astor-Thorpe custody battle, which has a score of Hollywood's leading Lotharios quaking in their custom-made boots. The speculation grew over the dynamite-packed Misstep Diary in which Mary Astor allegedly kept score on the romantic prowess of the top-ranking Romeos of the film colony. Lawyers and principals in the case today went to a weekend huddle with rumors of settlement in the offering. Kaufman hiding. The Thalbergs, who have been known to smooth over threatened rifts in the movie industry, were dividing their time between conferences with Miss Astor at the Samuel Goldwyn lot and huddles with playwright George S. Kaufman, who has fled all interviewers since he was subpoenaed as a witness in the custody case and named by Miss Astor as her ideal a great lover. The game of Hyde Kaufman has become Hollywood's favorite pastime as the playwright, under guard of hotel employees and chauffeurs, dashes with all of the elaborate secrecy of a movie sleuth from his well-protected suite at the exclusive Beverly Wilshire Hotel to the home of his friend and collaborator Moss Hart. Afraid to go out. Early today, Kaufman, in hilarious conference with Thalberg and Miss Shearer at the Hart home in Hollywood, crept steadily across a shadowed garden to a waiting limousine, while his friends diverted the attention of waiting newspapermen at the main driveway. Just before his departure, he was heard to remark, "It's getting so I'm afraid to go out after dark." Kaufman has refused consistently to comment on his part in the Astor Thorpe marital tangle, though Miss Astor has admitted freely her infatuation for the Broadway playwright and her frequent visits to his hotel suite in Hollywood and his apartment in New York. They're in conference. Meanwhile, Dr. Franklin Thorpe's attorneys, Joseph Anderson and A.P. Michael Nerlin, were believed to be in conference with Miss Astor's handsome and swashbuckling lawyer, Roland Rich Woolley, who represented Anne Harding in her recent battle over custody of her little daughter. Woolley has maintained throughout the case that there is no possibility of an out-of-court settlement, but with the growing pressure being brought to bear by alarmed producers and fearful film stars, it was believed that a last-minute huddle was underway in an attempt to prevent the revelation of the episodes and names said to be contained in Miss Astor's highly trumpeted Book of Secrets. Miss Astor completed her week's work on the new Goldwyn production of Dodsworth today and announced her intention of seeking a complete rest for the weekend in preparation for presumption of her ordeal on the witness stand Monday. Going to see it through. Before she left the set, she said, "I'm going to see this thing through no matter what happens. After all, Marilyn is more important to me than anything else in the world, including my career. I'm sorry this is the only means for me to gain custody of my child, but I have no other course." Further pleas were reported underway with Dr. Thorpe by emissaries of the fearful 10 best Romeos said to be listed in Miss Astor's thrill diary to attempt suppression of the 187-page record of the actress's innermost thoughts and emotions. Grief for first mate. It was learned today that the diary covers a period from 1927 to 1935 and dwells at length on Miss Astor's grief over the death of her first husband, Kenneth Hawkes, film director who was killed in January 1930 in a crash of two movie planes off Santa Monica, which cost the lives of some 10 others. The diary further records Miss Astor's adoption of a fatalist philosophy of life and love during her grief, it was said, and sets down her search of thrills as an effort to forget her sorrow. Her wedding in 1930 to Dr. Thorpe, the Hollywood Society physician, is described at length. The doctor cast in the role of a good Samaritan, saving Mary from her own impulses. Other Lotharios. Later, it was said the names of other Lotharios again appear in the record as the marital rift widened between Miss Astor and her husband, and the now famous charm rating of Hollywood's brightest luminaries is set down. Little Marilyn, the 4-year-old daughter whose custody precipitated the present court battle with its attending scandal, was born in Honolulu after a vacation cruise of the Thorpes aboard their yacht. The child, innocent victim of the furor of the raging custody fight, is at present with her mother, though Dr. Thorpe holds legal custody. The Hollywood doctor, whom Miss Astor accuses of numerous affairs with Hollywood beauties whom he met in his professional capacity, gained custody of Marilyn when he was granted an uncontested divorce decree last year. The divorce was granted by default, and it was not until the present custody fight that the name of Kaufman entered the case. So that article came out in August, and by September 14th, Irving Thalberg was dead. He actually died from pneumonia on September 14th, 1936, at the age of 37. It's really too bad. It was very sudden as well. He was on the set of the movie A Day at the Races with the Marx Brothers, and when he all of a sudden just came down with pneumonia and he passed away very suddenly again. It was really too bad because he was really a genius. He ended up making a lot of careers in Hollywood, and he was married to Norma Thalberg, who was a really great actress in her own right. I can't find anything really card related of Irving Thalberg. Um, Directors really don't have a whole lot of cards to begin with. Uh, he may have been an actor, but if he was, uh, again, there's really nothing out there card wise of Irving Thalberg. I wish that wasn't the case. I wish he did have a couple of cards. But you see, the thing is, um, I love to collect a lot of Hollywood cards, a lot of actress and actress cards from the 1910s through the 1950s. And one of the reasons why I like that is because I do really enjoy Hollywood, the history of Hollywood, and it's for me, it's kind of like a getaway from sports cards, if you will. I don't know everything that is out there when it comes to Hollywood cards. A lot of cards were actually issued out of the country, so he could have something. I just haven't seen it, and that's one of the reasons why I enjoy collecting vintage Hollywood cards because, again, I never know what I'm going to see and who I'm going to come across. So, again, he could be someone who does have a card, but I just don't know about it. This is from the Richmond Times-Dispatch, January 25th, 1942. Now it's Mary Astor, the star. No longer a clothes horse, she emerges from Blackout by Edith Lindeman. It has been a long time since Mary Astor has been a star. True, she's played many a supporting role in the past few years and has kept in the spotlight in more ways than one, even when her screen career was a practical blackout. But the beauticious Miss Astor has not been a leading lady for quite a while. A long time ago, any producer who wanted a girl with a gracious manner, a cultured voice, a cameo profile, and a beautiful figure automatically would send in a call for Mary Astor. She played sweet, pure, good, and lovely ladies, and she kept on playing them until she and her fans just wore each other out. Then last year, along came a chance to play second fiddle to Betty Davis in The Great Lie. Most actresses would have felt a little unhappy about this opportunity. When Betty Davis stars in a picture, people pay no attention to anyone but Betty. Usually, the rest of the cast is simply among those present. But this time something happened. Mary Astor walked into the picture and walked away with half of the scenes. She didn't do it on purpose, she merely gave the best performance in her repertoire, and it came out brilliantly. A lesser star than Betty Davis would have had the Astor scenes chopped to a minimum, and it's been done like that before. But Betty is an artist who recognizes artistry in others and who glories in the abilities of her co-workers. When Mary Astor gave the show of her life, Betty was the first to cheer her on. It was Betty's approval as much as Mary Astor's own work that won her continued recognition and a fat contract from Warner Brothers. Roles with substance. This week on Thursday, Mary Astor came to the Colonial starring with Humphrey Bogart in The Maltese Falcon. She doesn't play sweet and lovely ladies any longer. She gets roles with substance to them. Heavy, dramatic, exciting roles. Once in the clothes horse class, she is now rated as one of the better actresses. Mary Astor's life off-screen has been rocky as the career of some of the women she portrays. Born Lucille Langhanke, she changed her name when she won a place on the screen. She was one of the first Wampus baby stars, also one of the few so designated to fulfill the expectations of her sponsors. She has been the principal actor in many a court battle. At one time, a horde of relatives sued her for large slices of her salary, claiming that they were destitute while she lived in luxury. She won that battle hands down. At another time, her first husband sued her for divorce, claiming the custody of their child. She won that bout, too, though the youngster spends weekends with her father. A few years ago, there was the famous and sensational case of Mary Astor's diary. It seems that a lot of people were suing her at that time, but once more she came off the victor. 2 years ago, she married again, a man several years younger than herself, dark, dashing Manuel di Campo. They have an infant son and are apparently among the happiest Hollywood couples. Though with all of her domestic difficulties, Mary Astor has moved with the most amazing serenity. Her close friends have been loyal to her. Her coworkers have been pleased when she has made a good picture. At the moment, everybody is happy over the turn in the tide of Mary's affairs. It isn't often that a stalemate career gets underway once more. Mary Astor has won another case. This is from the Los Angeles Times, September 26, 1987. Actress, author Mary Astor, 81, dies. Her 109 film, 45-year career spanned two eras. By Penelope McMillan. Mary Astor, whose piercing eyes and finely honed features made her the quintessential star to one generation of Americans, and whose portrayals of mature but flawed women kept her fame bright through yet another, died early Friday. The longtime actress, who in her later years lamented the time she had spent before the camera, was 81 and died in the motion picture country hospital in Woodland Hills. She moved to the motion picture and television country home in 1974, where she had led a self chosen solitary existence for many years and was admitted to the hospital there last year. Hospital spokesman Jean Ferris said she died of respiratory ailments. Won Oscar in 1942. During a career that spanned 45 years, Miss Astor appeared in 109 films, among them such classics as The Maltese Falcon with Humphrey Bogart and The Great Lie with Bette Davis. For the latter, she won an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress in 1942. But Miss Astor, born Lucille Lanacki, was a star whose real dream, she discovered, was to be a writer. When she retired from films in 1964, she reminisced, "During the first 2 months of hanging around the famous Players Lasky studio, I distinctly remember feeling, is that all? Glamour is in the eye of the movie fan." Late in life, she won a measure of independence from not only the parents who had pushed her into movies, but from 4 unhappy marriages and alcohol. She discovered her love of writing. She published 5 novels and 2 autobiographies and said of her 45-year acting career, "A life on film. If only I could have put all that time and work and study into writing, I might have learned to write well. I mean, really well." Some early writing, an infamous diary, became one of Hollywood's juiciest scandals in 1936 when her second husband, Dr. Franklin Thorpe, a gynecologist, included it as evidence of immoral conduct in the custody battle over their daughter Marilyn. Tame experts, such as romance with playwright George Kaufman, leaked to the press, but rumor had it that certain pages held pornographic descriptions of the affairs of some of Hollywood's biggest male stars with box scores on their performances. Once an out of court agreement was reached and the case was dropped, the diary, which Miss Astor always denied containing anything lurid, was sealed in court records and then destroyed by court order in 1952. One magazine contest. Miss Astor was born May 3rd, 1906 in Quincy, Illinois. Her path to Hollywood began when she entered a Fame and Fortune contest run by Movie Magazine. After her picture was printed as a semifinalist, her German immigrant father, Otto Lankenecke, a man ever in search of get-rich schemes, decided that his daughter would be a star. On this quest, Lankenecke moved the family first to Chicago and then in 1920 to New York City. There, she later said, the difficulty of finding employment for a 14-year-old would-be actress reduced the threesome to eating coffee, cereals, and bread. Finally, she got a 6-month contract with famous players Lasky, later part of Paramount. During that 6 months, about all she got was her new name, Mary Astor, and a bit part as a double-exposed dream figure in Sentimental Tommy. Soon after the contract was up, a New York photographer recommended her to a friend who was making two-reelers based on famous paintings. The result was The Beggar Maid, which proved her first success. She was to do 6 two-reelers before she got her first role in a feature film, John Smith, made by Louis Selznick in 1922. None of this was fun, she later wrote, because every night I had to go back to my prison, to the constant watchfulness, the petty corrections and dictatorial advice, and listen to Daddy. In 1923, her famous Players Lasky contract was renewed, and with her parents leading the way, she moved to Hollywood. As the studios were divided between the two coasts, she commuted back and forth by train with a canary named Tweetums. During the early part of her career in silent films, she played innocent heroines, as in Beau Brummel and Don Juan with John Barrymore, who was also one of the leading male stars she fell in love with, or Don Q, son of Zorro, with Douglas Fairbanks Sr. In that period, what stood out were her large eyes and fabulous profile. Later, she would be noted more for her characterizations of evil, such as her Academy Award-winning portrayal of the ambitious, selfish pianist in The Great Lie, or the treacherous Bridget O'Shaughnessy in The Maltese Falcon. Played roles of mothers. In later years, she played immutable mothers. She was Judy Garland's in Meet Me in St. Louis, Kathryn Grayson's in Thousands Cheer, and Elizabeth Taylor's in Cynthia. She also played the mother in 1949's Little Women. This latter career was almost aborted during Hollywood's transition to talking pictures. After making 39 films that were silent in 1929, her voice tests were judged too masculine. By this time, she was under contract to Fox, and the studio released her. She went 10 months without work. She broke the logjam by acting in a local play and winning kudos from reviewers who said her voice was low and vibrant. Same girl, same voice, she later wrote. Her first talkie, Ladies Love Brutes, with Frederick March, was released in 1930. Her transition to a full independent person proved a much harder struggle, and she was to write in her autobiographies that it took years to break free of her parents. She said, but she was so insecure that her father took charge of her paychecks, using much of the money to support himself and his wife to buy an ornate house on the Hollywood Hills. Even 5 years after she became a star, Miss Astor still turned quickly to her mother if someone asked a question. Her work pace became, as she said, like a spinning of a top set in motion by my father, whipped by financial necessity. But she also later wrote, I was afraid of starring, of being too successful. I wanted to feel secure. Finally, she demanded that her paychecks be given directly to her and withdrew financial support of her parents. In response, the Lankenkes sued her in 1934. They lost and moved to Lancaster, California. She later said she believed that her drinking started then. She remained insecure. She wrote of one dubious attempt to bolster her ego that Humphrey Bogart had made during the filming of Maltese Falcon. "You're okay, baby," he said. "So you're not very smart, but you know it. And what the hell's the matter with that? Be yourself." She married 4 times. First to film director Kenneth Hawkes, brother of Howard, in 1928. In A Life on Film, she said that this marriage had rainbows around it, though in her other autobiography, My Story, she said that during this 18-month union, their sexual relations were unsatisfactory and that she had an abortion after an affair with someone else. Hawkes died in a plane crash in 1930. She married Thorpe of her diary fame in 1931. The alleged intimacies penned in lavender ink that became part of the 1936 custody case she claimed were forgeries. When she had to appear in court during this period, she later recalled she would pretend she was Edith Courtwright, the strong character she was playing in the film Dodsworth, being made at the time. "I had achieved the reputation of being the greatest nympho courtesan since Pompadour," she later wrote. "It just wasn't true." After her divorce, she married Manuel Martinez del Campo, an aspiring Mexican actor 6 years her junior. They had one son, Anthony, before getting a divorce in 1942. In 1945, she married businessman Thomas G. Wheelock, a union that lasted until 1953. During these years, she wrote, she increasingly felt lonely and suffered from numerous illnesses related to alcoholism. Newspapers reported a suicide attempt in 1951. She worked in television, rode company theaters, and retired after doing a cameo role in Hush Hush, Sweet Charlotte, released in 1965. "I was never totally involved in movies," she once said. "I was making someone else's dream come true, not mine. I hadn't ever had time to discover what my dream might be." Her dream, it turned out, was writing, an avocation she found after conquering alcohol and converting to Roman Catholicism. Her first novel, The Incredible Charlie Crew, was published in 1960, followed by The Image of Kate, The O'Connors, Goodbye Darling, Be Happy, and A Place Called Saturday. Writing, she told Hedda Hopper in 1961, was harder by far than acting. "It's lonely work, even for a loner like myself," she said. "Both jobs are creative, acting is easier, but writing gives greater satisfaction." While at the motion picture and television country house and hospital, she kept to herself, rarely seeking conversation with others and taking her meals alone. She did consent to appear on the cover of Life a few years ago when the magazine did an issue on film stars of the past. She is survived by her daughter and son. Funeral services will be private. So that's my look into Mary Astor. I think it's a really fascinating career that she had and a really interesting life as well. I do have a couple of questions really about some of the things that I just read. One of them being the diary. Who are the other people involved in this, and why was it sealed for so many years and then destroyed? Um, I'm just really kind of curious about that, whether or not there was any truth to what was in it. And again, I would kind of love to be a fly on the wall for those court proceedings as well, because I um I do have a thing for courtrooms and court proceedings, but that's another story for another time. Anyway, guys, and thank you so much for stopping by. I greatly appreciate it as always. Like and subscribe so that others can see this material. And again, if you have any comments about Mary Astor or if you have any favorite movies of Mary Astor's, let me know. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say as always. And until the next time, I will talk to you later. Have a good one. Bye.